guys, what's going on? It is Ash here coming at you today in Clash Royale. Welcome to the channel, guys. Thank you for joining me. I am joined here in clan by AZ, who's currently 16th in the world using this deck, guys. Now, if you're not normally a Graveyard user, I implore you to give this deck a try. You play it a little bit differently, the same kind of strategic principles. I rarely upload, and we're in a match right now, I rarely upload back-to-back same win conditions. Yesterday I had Juicy J in Swood on voice talking about Cannon Cart Graveyard synergy, but this deck, in my opinion, is a bit easier to play, and it's also, just in my opinion, a bit better for ladder. And I know a lot of you guys are more concerned with ladder than you are tournament level standard. And if that's not the case with you guys, let me know in the comments which type of content that you prefer here on the channel. But I still do maybe like one grand challenge a week, or I try to finish off one grand challenge live up with a pro guest. But I'm trying to limit it to that and mostly do either ladder trophy pushing videos or doing opinion based videos, which I have another one of those coming soon. I think I want to do the best unpopular cards. But anyway, I'm getting way off track here. We are 16th in the world. We're going against Seb here from Star Alliance FR, France. And hey, let's see if we can go for #1 global right now. Granted, it's like 3 days into the season, so, you know, we're not going to say he's the greatest of all time, but AZ is a really solid player. Be sure to check out his Twitter information and his player profile in the description below. So we're going against, it looks like a splash. Oh no, excuse me, I stand corrected. I saw the baby dragon, the ice wizard, and I thought maybe a splash yard deck, but we're going against a royal giant deck, and I've shared a deck like the one that we're seeing right now with actually AZ about 4 or 5 months ago, but there's two really big changes. That's why I wanted to bring you today's kind of deck update video as we watch him play live, and we'll make sure he does like 4 or 5 matches depending on if he gets to #1 or not in the global leaderboard. But the difference between this deck is 2 cards, but it's 2 pretty dramatic changes, and there's a big specific reason behind it. There's Ice Golem in for what used to be Valkyrie, and there's also the Giant Snowball in for what used to be arrows. So that's a net saving of 3 elixir. Of course, there's 1 savings from the arrow to the snowball, and there is 2 elixir savings from the Valkyrie to the Ice Golem. And what this really does is not only does it give you that Ice Golem as a 2 elixir glass tank for the graveyard, but it also just makes everything cycle quicker, which comes in handy, especially against matchups like this, where sometimes you need to cycle to get back to that P.E.K.K.A for the Royal Giant. Lightning comes down. That was a beautiful lightning rod with the Ice Golem there, and there it is, P.E.K.K.A's back in hand. Now, against this matchup here, it's relatively easy. I mean, you have the P.E.K.K.A again for the Royal Giant, and you also have that Furnace for the Royal Giant if you're in a pinch. So the Barbarian Barrel comes down, does so well against archers. But here comes the Giant Snowball, and AZ loves Giant Snowball, and I know we've had a bunch of other players here. I know Graveyard Fan was another guy who came on the channel somewhat recently, just talking about how powerful and underrated, invaluable the Snowball is, as opposed to Zap or Log or even Freeze in this Graveyard deck. Snowball is just great. I mean, the knockback effect for 2 elixir is extremely valuable because we're running Poison. If we were running Fireball, then I would say, okay, maybe you can run the Zap, maybe you can run, you know, Freeze and get a little bit, and there's a P.E.K.K.A. Oh, I thought the P.E.K.K.A was going to make contact with that right tower. It is not the case here. But you can see we're already about 30 seconds almost into sudden death overtime here, and here goes the Graveyard, guys. By the way, did you guys win the Year of the Pig challenge? What did you guys think of that challenge? Let me know in the comments below. I'll share the deck that I use, that I personally, I'm sure every YouTuber says this, but I personally think this is like the best deck ever for that challenge. And I went undefeated when I switched to this deck, and it's just nasty. I think the E-Drag is low-key, like, incredibly strong in the Year of the Pig challenge. Just in case you guys haven't won, I'll include that on the overlay in the deck slot right now. But here we go. It's going to be a Snowball coming down, and the Snowball is just, not only does it have the knockback, and there it is, tower down, guys, with 155 remaining, and again, going well into overtime here, showing the patience required with this deck, even when you have the matchup advantage. Let's go into the next match. Alright guys, going into match #2 here. He's currently 11th in the world, going against Matt G. That means Lava Loon. This guy is a beast with Lava Loon at top ladder. So let's see, how do you handle Lava Loon? I don't think he's playing Lava Miner. I think Matt G pretty much plays the OG Lava Loon, but we'll see what big spell he might have. Lightning. Oh, well, there's the lightning. Obviously, if he had lightning, we would have known about it there, and he does use it. We have archers, we have snowball, we have ice golem, mega minion. This deck does well against the against air decks, against lava hound, lava loon, lava hound miner, lava hound lumberjack, and of course against just other air cards in general like balloon cycle or balloon freeze. This deck does really well because you can pull with the furnace as well, and of course you can stagger your troops accordingly if they do have freeze. So here it comes. It's going to be an ice golem, and look at those 2 fire spirits doing work against those guards. Guards are going to be gone, and now we're getting a ton of damage stacking up, and you can see that he went in with that graveyard. And look at that, the fire spirits connect as well, take out the mega minion, and then AZ gives the good luck, man. Man, that was really, really well done there on that very first graveyard push of the match there. And against this matchup, the opponent has look at his spells. It's the first thing you kind of want to figure out when you're playing this deck is what are their small spells, what are their big spells, and how can you combat that? How can you play your cards accordingly to go ahead and take advantage of trying to bait them out, their spells, or just seeing what you need to combo with the graveyard. Of course, poison would be the most difficult big spell to go against, but you have plenty of ways to bait out that poison. You can play archers in the same lane, you can play your furnace, and of course you can play your mega minions, try to bait out that poison from the opponent. Speaking of poison, we use a nice defensive poison here that's going to kill all the pups to really mitigate that damage in the left lane and do work against that mega minion as well. And then we reload with the furnace here. Here's the first balloon play of Matt G behind this lava hound in the right lane. He does have lightning, so I expect lightning to probably come down. A nice lightning rod with the ice golem again. That was beautiful. Lava hound pops. The pushback, the knockback, excuse me, of that snowball coming in handy there again. And as I was saying before, guys, it's not just the knockback of the giant snowball that's valuable. It's that very valuable freeze time, that kind of ice wizard freeze lingering duration that it has. It's incredibly valuable in this deck, and here it comes again. Another ice golem, maybe trying to get another graveyard here with 5 seconds left. He just does the poison. He knows the opponent does have guards in cycle, but poison plus the graveyard plus the snowball is going to take them out, and that icy ability of the giant snowball is just so valuable because just like you saw in that matchup, and he's got to be like top 5 right now, just like you saw in that matchup, it buys you more time to make contact with skeletons. All right, he's already in a match here. Didn't even have to edit out. That was really fast. Going against Destroy from SD United. So going against Destroy here, starting plays with this deck, just play it cool, guys. You don't, big mistakes on this deck is going in really aggressively with a graveyard. Even if your opponent drops like a giant in the back as a starting play, I would not advise in this meta to go opposite lane with like an Ice Golem graveyard. I think that that's a big mistake, and I think that Swood and Juicy J in yesterday's video mentioned that as well. People are playing graveyard super aggressively, and that's really not the right play style that you want to have with a deck like this, because remember, it's all about building that counter push. And ooh, this is unfortunate. We have nothing for at all. Well, we have the snowball, but apparently we must have it in hand. I guess he chooses not to use it there because maybe he didn't have anything to play behind. So now we're going to go ahead and try to kite this Mega Knight here. And then the Inferno Dragon does about 500 damage or so to our right tower. We have a Mega Minion down on those bats. This could be trouble here in the left, guys. We use a Furnace and a Giant Snowball there, but oh, the E-Wiz is just hanging on to life there, but that's really unfortunate. Archer's played in the back. Miner comes down. Not sure what that Ice Golem play was, maybe to tank for these Archers, but you can see the Archers actually kind of edge their way in front of the Ice Golem. Well, one Archer is going to fall to the tower. The other Archer's not going to be able to finish off that Bandit, so we're going to have to respond to the Bandit as well. Now, another reason that I like this deck, guys, is that it's kind of unorthodox in the sense that it's not brand new, except for the changes that we already talked about. But when people see PEKKA, they don't normally think Graveyard. When people see Furnace, they don't normally think PEKKA. When people see Graveyard, they don't think PEKKA. So like it's just kind of the PEKKA synergizing with this deck to take down the tanks, to take down the princes, the rascals, the golem, the giant, the goblin, whatever you're dealing with. He does a really good job. Mega Knight in this case. But this is a tricky matchup, though, because the opponent does have that Inferno Dragon as well. So, I don't know. To me, this one actually is a little bit of an edge for Destroy because he has a lot of counters to Graveyard. He has Poison as well, and he has that Inferno Dragon for our P.E.K.K.A. But we'll see. It could really go either way here. This could be a lucrative push. Let's see what happens. The Inferno Dragon is down again, unfortunately. And this is one of those matchups where, hey, if Inferno Dragon is something that you run across a lot, in the arena, well, guys, by all means, there we go, but 286 remaining on our tower, guys. This is going to be tricky. We poison that left tower, but Miner comes down. If Miner connects, and he does, he guesses wrong on that Miner, and E-Wiz just goes right through, and that's going to be GG, guys, unless he gets some great RNG with this Graveyard here. Poison comes down for the opponent, Snowball comes down, and that's going to be GG. Man, we're probably not going to hit #1 now global in this video, but I will show you a few more matches, guys, because I just really want to talk more about this deck, and the strategy behind it. Be right back with you guys. All right, guys, let's turn that loss around here with a big dub against Anon from Panda Scheme. So, yeah, back to what I was saying about the kind of, I wanted to touch, oh, look at this. This is beautiful. I couldn't have picked this better because I hate going against this mortar deck. I'm not hating the play, I'm hating the game. Nah, seriously, I just suck against mortar. You know, even if I feel like I have the matchup advantage against mortar, it's one of those decks. I don't know if you guys have a deck like this out there where you go against it and you're like, okay, just... Even if I play things perfectly, I just tend to make more mistakes. Even if it's just one costly mistake can be the big difference in this matchup. I find it very difficult personally. I don't know if you guys have a deck like that. But here comes the pressure with the Miner, and again, Ice Golem really coming in handy here. The death damage is going to take care of those bats. So I really want to see how AZ negotiates this matchup because this is going to be an important one for you guys to understand as well in the arena. This is definitely, in my opinion, this version of Mortar Miner Bait is the strongest one out there. Maybe I should get Midfinger back on the channel again. He's just such a beast with Mortar, with this deck, or Macarius. Would like to have those guys kind of maybe come back on and review the deck again on that side. But anyway, let's see how we deal with it. So Mortar comes down, and he goes with that really deep Furnace there on his end. The first shot of that Mortar is going to be distracted by the Fire Spirits. The second shot, unfortunately, went onto the Mortar there. But we respond to that Miner in the right lane with the Mega Minion, and the death damage of the Ice Golem will clean up those bats as well. The Furnace is distracting that entire Mortar, so that's a 4-for-4 trade. Not that big of a deal, and the nice thing there with the Furnace defensively in that position is it's also going to prevent them from supporting the mortar with any bait troops, right? So now we use the P.E.K.K.A. here on defense, but of course he's going to be leaning on that defensive mortar. And as a P.E.K.K.A. player myself, I would talk to Mikkel about this, and he told me that I'm not talking about this deck here, sorry to be confusing, but he said he always saves his P.E.K.K.A. for the mortar. Of course, he doesn't have Furnace in that deck. You guys know the deck I'm talking about, the one I'm playing all of 2019 in. And by the way, tower down to 1037 there. This one is looking good, really connected. That was his first Graveyard of the entire match. His first P.E.K.K.A., I want to say, of the entire match as well, I think, unless I missed something. And anyway, again, at any rate, we have the deep Furnace again, opposite lane this time. Dark Goblin still providing tons of damage. It's hardly even, you can't even notice the nerf to Dark Goblin. Can you guys? I can't. Anyway, Snowball comes through here. Snowball's so clutch in this matchup. Against this matchup, this Mortar Bait Swarm matchup, the beautiful thing here is, look at it. Look at our deck, guys. I mean, we have Ice Golem with the death damage. We have, of course, our Fire Spirits from our Furnace to deal with all this splash. And it's really nice to have that Snowball in there. Speaking of Snowball, and one might be raining down pretty soon, bats are down. Here comes a Snowball. Snowball finishes it off there, and there's a victory for AZ. I knew it. I knew we would get a win there. Let's go ahead and play one more, guys. Be right back with you. Alright guys, here we are with our 5th and final match against Blaze from Arcanum. Blaze, a really good player. Shout out to Blaze if you're watching, man. Want to get you on the channel sometime. And gonna start off again with the Furnace in the back here. Furnace, obviously a beautiful play because sometimes your opponent will make the mistake of using their Poison or their Fireball or whatever against the Furnace. More importantly, Poison, obviously. If you can bait out a Poison with the Furnace, it's always a good thing. So good game, well played. Good game, good game, good game, says Blaze as soon as he sees that P.E.K.K.A. And truthfully, that's a nice sign. Whenever you see a giant deck, when you're running this deck, you're going to be doing pretty well, and that means he probably has, well, we didn't see a big spell out of him yet. That means he probably has Fireball as well. So again, just this is a key snowball there to notice, to kind of take note of, guys, is he used that snowball against what? A giant, a prince, and a mega minion? Not against Swarm, but obviously he knows the deck he's going against. He doesn't need a lot of Swarm defense, or there's no Swarm to deal with at all. That doesn't mean we can't use the snowball just to kind of buy us more time defensively with that freeze frost effect of the snowball. And of course, a little bit of damage helps out as well, as long as you have a few troops bunched together, even if it's not a swarmy type card. I think that's one thing that I see from a lot of people playing the snowball, is they just kind of sit on it if the opponent does. Ooh, I thought that Blaze was running Fireball. Usually you see Fireball with the 3-spell giant minor deck, but there's no minor and there's no Fireball. There is 3 spells and there is a giant though, so that's interesting. A little bit more of a chance here for Blaze now that he does have that poison, and you better bet he'll probably be keeping that poison for the graveyard every single time, trying to defend everything else without having to use it. So here again, Musketeer doing work, the newly buffed Musketeer, and man, I want to get Lucas on the channel to do some 2.6 hog cycles sometime this week, hopefully, but just trying to get our schedules aligned. Haven't been able to do it yet, but I want to get him on because just that Musketeer 3% buff has really, I don't know about you guys, but I am seeing so much 2.6. It's crazy. I'm not seeing this too much 2.6 in my trophy range, which I'm at, like, I don't know, 5,000 exactly right now, or close to. I think that it's crazy how much I'm seeing right now in terms of 2.6, and it's a nightmare. So anyway, this deck does pretty well against 2.6. Not the best matchup, but certainly not the worst. You do have the P.E.K.K.A if you need it. You have the Furnace as well, Mega Minion. You have some answers, and even the Snowball in a pinch if you need to kind of push back or kill Swarm troops that are kind of parlayed with the Hog Rider in the lane. So Poison comes down. That's going to take care of the Musketeer. The Skeletons from the Graveyard get a decent amount of damage too, and let's see, 2 seconds left here in regulation. This one's definitely going to overtime, and again, just illustrating that a lot of your matches with this deck will go into sudden death overtime. So you saw on the previous push, guys, did you notice this while I was blabbing on about who knows what I was talking about? But he clumps up his troops pretty often here. He'll play the archers same lane, always playing same lane archers with this deck, guys. It's not a split archers type of deck unless you really don't have a starting play and that's what you want to do. That's fine, but the idea behind the same lane always with the archers is to bait out the opponent's spell with the archers. If they're using their big spell on your archers, it's a win. That's 3 elixir for 4, and their big spell is out of rotation, especially like in this case if it's poison. So again, archers same lane here. We have one elixir away from the P.E.K.K.A, but we opt to go for a poison there instead. That was a smart move because the P.E.K.K.A wouldn't have been able to take down that giant in time before he got a few hits on that tower. So he gives a good luck here. Poison down on the Graveyard again. We talked about this. Blaze is going to be saving his poison for Graveyard every time. You can see we're still able to chip away a little bit at a time. Question is there enough time in this match to finish this off? Ice Golem down, then cycling to that P.E.K.K.A, and again, with that 3 elixir savings, we talked about this at the top of the video, it really helps a lot when trying to cycle to that next P.E.K.K.A, just like we saw there illustrated in this match. So again, same lane archers here. This could be trouble. We have that Ice Golem down. Unfortunately, Musketeer takes down one of our archers. We use a Furnace here. That should clean up this Prince just fine. Doesn't even get a stab in on that Furnace. So 1 minute and 23 here left, and there goes a naked Graveyard. We're just gonna, well, that was an interesting Graveyard, guys. It was a noteworthy Graveyard because all we did basically there is just bait out the opponent's poison, and we didn't get even 1 stab, and we took a 1 elixir loss. But I think that AZ probably figured that he had the elixir advantage. He'll get the poison out on the opponent and just start clumping troops up in the lane, and that's exactly what he does here. And then he has another Graveyard down. Poison is down immediately from Blaze again, is keeping that poison in cycle, but this time the Ice Golem gets to the tower. Check that out, guys. Ice Golem's gonna get 2 hits plus the death damage onto that right tower, but now we have to be worried about this Prince in the left lane. A log comes down. Smart move not over defending there in the left, guys. The left tower was at full HP. We can afford to take a little bit of damage from that Prince as long as he didn't connect with that charge. A nice snowball to knock that Musketeer back to the P.E.K.K.A, and then the poison finishes off swept the match there. So hey, 4-1, not too bad. Way to go, AZ. Guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. Best of luck trophy pushing with this deck. I think a lot of you guys will really enjoy it. And again, a huge shout out to AZ. Check out his player stats and profile in his social media, again, in the show notes below. I'll also include a link to yesterday's Graveyard Cannon Cart video with 2 pros on voice if you kind of want to take a deeper dive into Graveyard strategy from the pros themselves. So guys, thank you so much for watching. A huge shout out to Bren Chong, my YouTube partner. Check out his information as well. Thanks guys, and as always, take care guys.